Welcome to the deep dive. If you're looking up at the sky in, say, autumn 2025, you are seeing an aviation sector that is just a massive contradiction. We're in this period of aggressive, almost euphoric recovery. People are flying, airlines are buying jets at historic rates, and governments are greenlighting these infrastructure plans that cost tens of billions.
But that momentum, that confidence, it's constantly being tempered by a series of really sobering high-profile safety crises and some very acute geopolitical risks.
And that tension is really the core of this deep dive. Our mission today is to cut through this pile of sources we've been reviewing, everything from the horrific outcomes of mid-air collisions to multi-billion-dollar fleet commitments.
And the shifting sands of global politics, too.
Exactly. We're going to give you a comprehensive, fast-paced understanding of the key forces shaping air travel right now. And the central question we're really asking is this: how does an industry keep pouring billions into a decades-long future when the immediate present is so volatile?
Yeah, and what's crucial to understand is that the foundation of the industry is actually incredibly resilient. The big picture is undeniably strong growth.
Okay.
Global passenger traffic has continued its robust recovery right through 2025. We're seeing most major hubs reporting pretty significant year-on-year increases in passenger numbers.
So demand is back.
Demand is absolutely back. It's overcome the long tail of the pandemic.
Right.
But like you said, that aggressive growth is being constantly pulled back to earth by the very real shadows cast by these recent incidents and, geopolitical pressures.
Right. So let's start with the good news, the market momentum. Airlines are adding schedules because customers are, well, they're demanding seats.
They absolutely are.
We've seen travel volumes stabilize at really high levels, though, of course, regional recovery is always going to vary a bit.
And those high flight volumes, you can see them instantly in the financial results of the whole support system.
It's not just the airlines.
Not at all. Several major airports, service providers, the companies doing baggage, catering, ground handling, they have all reported tangible increases in revenues in 2025 compared to the year before.
You have an example of that.
Sure. Ground handling and airport service revenues at one large Central European hub showed very, very strong year-on-year growth. It just shows the whole system is generating economic activity again.
And speaking of that system, the regulatory environment gave a massive shot in the arm for U.S. carriers in late 2025. We're talking about a pretty significant operational relief measure from the FAA in November.
Oh, this was a critical adjustment. The FAA formally lifted these earlier flight reduction orders that had been impacting operations at, roughly 40 major U.S. airports.
And just to be clear, those orders were in place to manage things like air traffic controller staffing.
Exactly. During periods of constraint, like a government shutdown, they'd use them to control the flow rate of traffic. It often led to departure delays or even slot cancellations.
So by lifting those, what does that practically mean for an airline?
It means they can finally resume their regular full-schedule operations, after the necessary safety reviews were done. It's a huge boost for restoring predictable, full domestic capacity.
So the regulators are basically giving the green light to meet that demand.
The green light for aggressive scheduling, yes.
So that's the backdrop. Demand up, revenues up, regulators clearing the path. But we have to make a deeply sobering transition now. All this positive news is happening alongside a period just dominated by devastating safety events.
This sequence of events, it really forces you to pause and ask a hard question. Is this rapid pace of recovery putting an unsustainable strain on the whole system, on operational integrity, maintenance, air traffic management?
It's a worrying thought.
And the source material shows a deeply worrying sequence of tragedies that have cast a very serious shadow.
The most alarming, I think, from an air traffic perspective, has to be that mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. on January 29, 2025. Over the Potomac River, that's one of the busiest, most restricted airspaces in the world.
It was a horrific event. It involved a commercial Bombardier CRJ-700, operated by American Eagle, and a U.S. Army Sikorsky Black Hawk helicopter.
Just devastating.
The results were immediate. All 67 occupants aboard both aircraft were killed. And while the investigations are still ongoing, the sheer fact that a commercial airliner and a military helicopter collided in controlled airspace, it just raises profound questions.
About coordination, communication.
All of it. And the strain on overworked air traffic control systems, especially given those FAA challenges we just mentioned.
And the tragedy didn't stop there. Just a few months later, the industry was rocked again by the fatal Air India crash in June of 2025.
Yeah, and the timing of that Air India accident, I mean, it just magnified the impact. It resulted in a substantial loss of life, and it happened right before the big 2025 Paris Air Show.
So it just cast a pall over the entire event.
Absolutely. Instead of the usual, boisterous celebration of new tech and huge deals, the mood was instantly muted. Deal announcements were low-key, and a lot of senior executives just canceled their appearances.
It's a very visible reminder that safety trumps market enthusiasm.
However briefly, yes.
The final piece in this terrible series highlights a potentially different systemic failure maintenance and structural integrity. The incident over New York in April 2025.
That's the fatal in-flight breakup and crash of a Bell 206 sightseeing helicopter into the Hudson River. What stands out here is the focus of the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board.
What are they looking at?
Their probe is centering specifically on the aircraft's rotor and airframe integrity and, crucially, its recent maintenance history.
So the pressure isn't just on air traffic control.
No, it suggests the pressure is mounting on the certified maintenance ecosystem that keeps these complex machines safe. When flying hours surge, maintenance cycles compress, and the risk profile changes.
It's difficult to pivot from news like that, but the investment calendar, it doesn't stop. And this leads us to the almost jarring counterpoint. The sheer, unshakable confidence shown by the global shopping spree at the air shows.
That's the duality we talked about at the start. Airlines are viewing these incidents as acute crises that need to be solved for sure. But they are not fundamentally questioning the long-term upward curve of global travel demand.
So they're locking in modern, more efficient fleets now.
Exactly. And the 2025 Dubai Air Show gave us the clearest evidence of this.
Let's talk about Fly Dubai. They placed one of the most aggressive orders of the year.
They did. Fly Dubai signed a memorandum of understanding which led to a firm order for 75 Boeing 737 MX narrow-bodies.
75. And there are options for more on top of that.
Correct. It signals a massive, aggressive push into the short to medium haul market.
And the reported value on that single order.
It's approximately $13 billion. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the annual economic output of a medium-sized Caribbean nation.
Wait, they're sinking $13 billion into the 737 MX specifically. I mean, despite the high-profile safety issues and the public trust challenges that model faced.
It's likely a combination of things.
Yeah.
For a rapidly expanding carrier like Fly Dubai, the MAX offers just unparalleled short-haul economics. They're betting that for the average traveler, the trust issues have sufficiently dissipated.
Or that the cost savings and fleet commonality just outweigh that lingering risk.
Precisely. They are prioritizing aggressive modernization and expansion over any perceived risk aversion.
So that covers the narrow-body regional strategy. What about the long-haul heavy hitters? Emirates is usually the benchmark.
And Emirates reflects that complementary long-haul renewal strategy. Across 2025, they continued their large purchase trajectory, notably including an order for 8 Airbus A350-900s.
Right.
And this isn't just about throwing more seats into the sky. It's a systematic replacement of older, less efficient aircraft with next-gen wide bodies that offer better fuel efficiency and lower operational complexity. The theme is relentless investment.
And that aggressive investment doesn't just stop with the planes. It extends to the concrete and steel infrastructure beneath them. The scale of ambition right now is staggering.
The jaw-dropping example of this is a proposed expansion plan for London Heathrow. They unveiled a project valued at £49 billion.
$49 billion, that's not just an upgrade, that's a total transformation.
It is. It's a multi-decade transformation.
So what are the key logistical challenges there? The engineering headaches?
The plan has 2 colossal components. First, a new third northwest runway.
Okay.
Second, and this is the most challenging part, is the need to tunnel the M25 motorway, one of the UK's most vital orbital routes, to accommodate the new runway.
Tunneling the M25, that's immense.
Immense. A huge, long-term political and logistical headache. The ultimate goal is to handle 150 million passengers a year over the next decade.
I have to imagine a project of that scale draws immediate and intense criticism.
It does. While the plan has massive elements of private funding, it faces significant scrutiny, particularly from environmental groups and local stakeholders concerned about noise, air quality, the whole impact.
So even as they plan for max capacity, they can't escape the global shift towards environmental accountability. Which brings us to sustainable aviation fuel, or AF.
The mandatory shift towards SAF is arguably the most significant immediate change affecting airline operations.
Mhm.
And this isn't just companies, virtue signaling.
It's regulation driving it.
Regulation is driving it.
Okay.
Specifically, measures like the EU's Refuel EU aviation legislation are creating the framework that forces uptake.
And are we seeing real-world contracts based on this?
Absolutely. We have concrete examples. OMV Petrom and Terram signed a SAF supply contract that became effective on January 1, 2025, covering multiple Romanian airports.
So the infrastructure is actually starting to adapt.
It's starting to. Driven by regulatory sticks and encouraged by airports investing in the specialized fuel handling facilities you need for SAF, it's becoming less of a specialty fuel and more of a mandatory part of the mix.
So now we loop back to those tempering factors we mentioned at the very beginning. All this investment has to happen against a volatile backdrop of geopolitical risk and fragile supply chains.
That's right. That's the operational reality check. The constant concern for carriers isn't just the price of jet fuel, but the physical safety of their assets. What do you do with a multi-million-dollar plane when a region suddenly becomes unstable?
What are we seeing airlines actually do to manage that?
We saw specific proactive measures in mid-2025. Due to elevated risks in conflict-adjacent regions, operators relocated a small number of aircraft. For example, some were moved from the Tel Aviv area to more stable storage or parking locations in Europe.
Just to get them out of harm's way.
It's a practical, calculated move to manage insurance liability and prevent assets from being damaged or trapped.
The other side of that geopolitical coin is sanctions, which continue to choke off manufacturing supply chains.
And this has created this bifurcated industry reality. While Fly Dubai is ordering the newest Boeing jets, countries impacted by sanctions, primarily Russia, are struggling toward total self-sufficiency.
Can you give us a technical example of how difficult that substitution really is?
Yes. We're seeing major development programs focused entirely on stabilizing their domestic fleet. A key example is the testing and introduction of domestically produced components for their regional jets, specifically the Sukhoi Superjet.
Which historically used a lot of Western parts.
It relied heavily on the Franco-Russian SAM-146 engine. The domestic replacement effort now involves intensive trials of a new engine, the PD-8. This is a massive technical hurdle, achieving full domestic substitution for a core certified component.
All to bypass sanctions and keep their fleet airworthy.
Exactly.
The contrast is just so stark. One part of the world bets $13 billion on seamless global supply chains, while another is battling technical isolation just to keep its existing planes flying.
That duality really summarizes the outlook. Growth is undeniable, driven by recovering demand and massive long-term investment. But that growth is significantly tempered by specific immediate risks. You have the potential for huge regulatory shifts from the outcomes of these accident investigations. The findings will demand changes for everyone. You have the chronic drag of geopolitical instability, the uncertainty over certified parts in sanctioned markets, and of course, the threat of fuel price volatility that can just shatter airline economics.
So this is the tightrope the sector is walking. We have an industry confident enough to greenlight a £49 billion expansion at Heathrow, aiming for 150 million passengers a year. That is a decades-long bet on stability and uninterrupted growth.
A truly staggering long-term prediction.
But they're making that bet while grappling with acute, immediate operational instability, from fatal mid-air collisions to physically moving planes out of harm's way. The final provocation we leave you with is this. How do you, as an industry, justify financing a massive 150 million passenger future when the immediate risk-filled present feels like it could break the whole system at any moment? That is the ultimate tension defining global air travel right now.